No. So a resolution to begin our meeting.
Are you making it?
Um,
My other making it.
yeah, make it right.
I move to start the meeting.
Favor?
Aye.
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a visitor.
Yeah,
Hello.
one of the users. Okay. Dave? Sit over here, that's okay. Okay. Look at you people. And
No, that's the German.
Yeah.
I mean,
that one, but Nora's using it
Okay.
yes.
because I was pen Brian.
I'm gonna ink it.
Almost okay.
All right, a motion to approve the minutes from March. I have,
That motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
I just been, because I wasn't here, so.
All right, so we're gonna start with playground equipment update. I wanted to let everybody know that the new swing was replaced on April 11th. So the one that was under warranty, that is back up and operational. It took about 15 minutes to replace. So that was really good. While Bob was there, he suggested that we put more mulch in around the spinner and around the swings. So I reached out to Rick and asked him when the mulch would be coming or if he could get more mulch, and he said he would, so that should be coming. Wanted to also note that Kathy mentioned that signage is peeling at the playground, so we'll look into that. I'll look into that this month and figure out which signs are peeling and what we can do about it. Wanted to let everybody know that I did meet with Karen Davidson, the urban forestry coordinator from Delaware Forest Service, who was excited to tell us about a $5,000 grant, which would pay for trees and any other kind of landscaping. That grant comes with a match, which we can put together volunteer hours instead of raising an additional 5,000. So one option is they give you 5,000, you have to have $5,000 to match. The other option is they give you 5,000 and you have to have $5,000 in-kind donations, and those can be the youth students who are going to be planting the landscaping this summer. It could be people planting the trees. It could be people watering the trees. So there are lots of different ways that we can meet that $5,000 matching volunteer hours, and apparently the hourly is like $31 and something cents. So it's about 157 hours, I believe. Don't quote me.
Could we talk to trustees and city on that?
Haven't talked to anybody, haven't applied for the grant yet.
I understand, but like, could we, as we're discussing to apply that, would that be helpful? Just, you know, if we can trim down the number,
Uh,
5,000 match amount, and then, you know, we can do a mix, if we can't match 5,000, but, you know. Perhaps we
Right.
could.
I haven't talked to anybody at the trustees yet. I know that their grant application isn't until December 31st, so I don't know whether we can reach out to them at this point for additional funding, but certainly can take a look to
And
see.
can I just ask one more follow-up there?
Sure.
Does it have to be planted by UD students? Just because we have folks doing it already in the city, so I wasn't sure if that's, you know.
Oh, no, they're gonna plan it, pick trees and lay out.
Forestry, all the students.
The UD landscape architecture students will put together a plan, both where things are located and what we should, or what they recommend we put in there, what kinds of trees and bushes and things like that. The idea being to give more shade, but also to suck up a lot of the moisture that's there to keep the mosquito count down and to really make that area as livable as possible, and cool as possible for the kids to play.
And sorry, who will do the planting? Sorry.
So we would have volunteers.
So it would be volunteers?
Yeah, volunteers.
Can
and
we
that
talk
would
to
count.
trust on that? Because if they're maintaining the park right now, I mean, could they potentially oversee that part of the project by any chance?
I don't know. Yes, we can talk to them, but if that's something that needs to go through the grant program, we wouldn't get money
I
allocated.
don't, I mean, matches, I think separately, I'm saying the part because it would just go through their Battery Park committee or whatever, whoever is doing the maintenance of the park. I mean, it's ongoing. They
Right,
have people there. I think, is it Tommy Clayton?
Yeah.
Um,
okay, I can.
yours.
Another point with in-kind. Is I'm wondering if we should start tracking in-kind, like for all our meetings and everything, because all of us have a dollar amount tied to us professionally. And all the time that we're using, if we track the in-kind, this could all be in-kind hours that we could start using for matching.
Yes, and actually, I think she did say meeting time was included as well, so.
Okay.
that-
I know it is for Head Start when I
Yeah.
do it for Head Start.
Okay, so we have to figure out the best way to track that.
Well, even if we just, when we have a meeting, we just write everybody's name down and it's something, we can just,
And we can have a Google Doc. It's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, should be fine. Thank you. Okay, so that's the landscaping.
I don't think we should go year to date on it, right, in terms of.
oh, we could start from January
Oh,
first.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
You can see meeting minutes easily and see.
Okay, I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I got a lot of different kind of things to talk about. I did bring over some surfacing, which is here for colors, so if folks wanna take a look at it and see. I did visit a park in Pennsylvania to look at surfacing. There's different kinds of surfacing. There is like the 100% color and then 50% color, where they blend a color with black and it has more of a speckled look. It's cheaper. The part that I saw in Pennsylvania, it was already coming up and it was not in good shape. So, I was unimpressed with the quality, and it was actually Burke that did that. So Compton has another quote for us. I'm gonna check out their park. And I know you guys looked at, the park at Glasgow.
I did, so I wanted to put this in the PDF, I did not get a chance to do so yet, so I am going to pass my phone around. I did take 26 photos at Glasgow. That shows the good and the bad. Kind of looks like Glasgow Park was common as well. And they too have some surfacing issues with the different colors coming apart at the seams. I'm not sure how old their park is. I
In Glasgow?
imagine, yeah.
Like when they did that?
Probably 10 years ago, I guess, but you're definitely starting to see some of the wear and tear on it, but outside of that, as far as equipment, we did happen to come across, community citizen, autistic child. And he almost, religiously has to go to a playground. He really likes the yellow in there. He specifically gravitates toward the yellow. But she takes him there, typically when they open, and it was pretty cold when we went. It was maybe high 30s, low 40s when we went. But takes him there first thing in the morning when there's not a lot of kids there, so he can run around and play because he has to go. But he's not, he has some issues, so he can be aggressive with other kids. But she specifically noted that she will only go to a playground that has a fence around it, which Glasgow does. She will only go to playgrounds that have features for autism built into them, which again, Glasgow does. And that in addition to Glasgow, there's another park in North Delaware. I forget where she said it was. Maybe not North Delaware, maybe somewhere in Pike Creek area.
So the fence is less safety, like for cars or something, it's more for kids.
It's more for kids.
I heard that from Ginny, who was a principal of the Leach School.
I read that in minutes, yeah.
Yeah, she said she needed to have the fence because kids would want it.
Mm.
Okay, thank you for visiting.
So,
us.
it seems like Big Pro is bigger appeal color wise from what I'm hearing. And the drainage perhaps, but big problem is also wear and tear.
Long term, yeah, wear and tear on it.
Warranty is generally about 10 years. They say they can last as long as 15 years. When doing the cost analysis between mulch and this, mulch over 15 years is, I think I priced it out at about $181,000. It's $375,000 in our park.
This is repaired. Okay.
No, it's coming up.
Oh, coming up.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna be on the lower end of that because such a popular playground. So when we're forecasting, I think we should forecast 10 or even less years, because I feel like we're one of the more used playgrounds in the area.
And you have the water.
And
Yeah.
the natural
Yeah.
elements to it. So I would probably, for budgeting purposes, I know that hurts us more when we're presenting this. I'll probably go with 7 years.
Well, the warranty
And then
covers.
if we go to 10, it's great.
I think the warranty covers 10. So I'll double check that.
Build some water. Okay, let's not try to spill more.
Okay, next up another playground visit, or it wasn't playground, it's the garden, the Delaware Botanical Garden down in south of Woodless. This is done by the same people who did the High Line. The reason I went was I wanted to see how they integrated in what I thought was going to be the driftwood. They don't necessarily have driftwood there, but they're using lumber, and they're doing it in very innovative ways. They've got some really cool looking animals made out of wood. Sweet. They're gorgeous. A snail, a bird, a couple of other things. So it was a good thing to see. There wasn't much going on with the planting, but definitely a good data point for how to use wood in our playground. So one of the ideas that I came away with was take some of the driftwood and we cut it up into discs, that could be something, low discs, that could be something the kids could play on. They wouldn't be too high. They could, jump from one to the other. And there were a couple of other ideas that came out of that visit. Moving on to shading. So the initial quote, the shading elements themselves were about $8,000 to $9,000. Installation was almost double that, was about 15,000. So my initial ballpark of 3 shading elements is going to cost 75,000, which is way over what we have to spend for the AARP grant. I have 2 additional quotes coming in. And I think probably what we're gonna wind up doing is having 1 shading element of this kind. This is the cantilevered 1-post umbrella type shading element. And then we're gonna try to get perhaps some metal pergolas that we can plant. Our UD students will help us with that. That will bring shade, but won't be anywhere near as costly.
Mhm.
So those are the ideas that I'm playing with at the moment. For benches, I did visit Echo Plastics, which is not too far away from here with John Wick, who's the VP over there. John Wick, of course, is Anna Wick, our landscape architecture professor who grew up in Newcastle. This is her father, and he is involved with this recycled materials company that makes benches. The benches don't fit the parameter of what we're looking for. They do not have the arms. They do have a continuous back. While it would be possible for them to put together a new mold, it would be expensive. And it might work out that if CCP, if Laura's group wants to get benches for the rest of that park, and we could do hundreds of these things or 50 of them, that they would be able to do the mold and then do our bench. So that's something that is definitely worth looking into, because the story behind the ecoplastics, not only are they taking plastics from Delaware and reconstituting them into these benches, but the labor that they have hired are people who are on the autism spectrum, people who are from many different walks of life, but who have been really made useful in terms of society and themselves by working with this company. The stories that they told were really very heartwarming. So it's an organization I would love to work with if they were able to do what we need them to do. Right now, that needs to be investigated.
We're kind of pending on tagging along the whole park. Or,
It would have to tag along the whole park, yes, and they would have to be able to their degree for it. But I think it's not outside their own responsibility, it's just not gonna be easy. Okay, next up. Grants. So the Laughing McHugh grant was submitted. Stephen finished and put that together. We did hear back from Newcastle trustees. They declined to fund the playground. So we'll try again next year. I'll submit a letter asking for feedback on our grant application and see if we can get money next time. I did meet with Antonina, the city executive, the new city executive, and filled her in on the whole history of the playground and requested funding for the bond bill for the surfacing for $375,000. I don't have a firm commitment that that's going in. We also talked about ARPA funds. And so actually, I know somebody had put together a list of playgrounds that were funded through ARPA funds. Remember, does that sound familiar? Long time ago.
To who?
Somebody put together a list of funds, playgrounds around the country that were funded with ARPA funds.
I did that, yeah.
Could you go to Anthony, please?
Yes.
So that she has, so that she understands that this is something that has been done and is within the parameters of what can be done with those. With that one. Welfare Foundation grant goes in tonight. You will not see me after this meeting because I put that together. Please thank Lindsay for me for putting together the numbers. And so that is grants.
In respect to ARP, last month that was submitted, do we have any time frame in respect to when we might consider back?
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear back in mid-May or early June. That is a very short timeline for a grant. It has to be spent and reported on by the end of the year. So it's a short window. Okay, I did put in the HAC application for the benches and the shading for April. It was kicked back for needing more information, so put together that for May. And an update on the bathroom. I just found out that they are fixed, but they are locked. So apparently trustees are looking into how to open them on special occasions. And clearly we need to have them opened more frequently. I was walking behind the bathrooms and I did see people who clearly were using just the grass. And then people who were just in panic mode because they needed a bathroom. So it's a very serious issue that needs to be resolved as soon as possible.
Is there some way we can escalate that to the wider council?
Councilor Dricker.
Or
I talked to a trustee before it's been fixed about this, so trust has talked to city about this and they came up with a plan on ensuring that city employees can open the restroom when there's a summer camp. That was. I had a big issue with that we're just allowing one event only to have access to it when we have so many daily users that could be benefited. So I understand their safety issues and concerns that they have, but I said, like, there's so many solutions for this. That we can plan opening, in the morning and turn closing at night, whether automatically now, automatically doesn't matter, right? It's twice a day, right? I even suggested, like, there's these pods on for breastfeeding moms at the airports that you log into app, opens the door for you. So I'm like, we can even explore stuff like that. So I have passed these things and passed the links to trustees to discuss. Brian and I are meeting with 2 trustee members next week to discuss several things. Amongst others, this is gonna be a topic to see how we can. I don't even know that we have to showcase the need for this, honestly, but we will. As much as we can lobby that there's urgent need for this, because
It's a,
if it's limited like this, we might as well just put porta potties there, because, I mean, it's not operational to me if you need a key for it. And you gotta go, create an event for it, because it happens every day. So if that's the case, we gotta create basketball,
Yeah, you have,
and playground event every single day, all day
have
long.
functions, that property.
That doesn't make sense.
Decent, now,
Walking
trail, like, I don't see how you.
Restaurants in town that you just walk,
I don't see how you can.
you can't.
It doesn't make sense. I know they made this initially, but I think they're also not probably happy with that either. So we'll know a little more next week.
I know that Andre, you have sent a letter out to Mrs. Edith
I
King.
did, I know I circled it around first, realigned on it before I sent it out, I have not heard anything back, at least not to me, I'm not sure. I know the original email that the, community member sent was to an internal or city email address, I'm not sure, maybe a follow-up, if there was a follow-up, came back into that city email address, but I did not receive a response.
Okay, and that is pretty much been consistent with all of the neighborhood contacts that have come in and responses have gone back out. We have not been able to have one person consistently come and join at this point, so we'll keep trying, but what your experience is consistent with what I have seen elsewhere.
Yeah, we got a pretty, not to go back to this, but we have pretty good, like, example of the bathrooms. And the limitations to the playground, like, we had a friends from out of town come and we went to the playground and we, just as we got there, the little girls are gonna use that bathroom, we have to go back home. So we didn't use playground at all. So it just basically drives people out of town,
It's a terrible.
Well,
so it's just like, because little kids will have to go use bathrooms.
And for the people who are from out of town coming to use the playground, I know we're revisiting this here, but you're not leaving if you gotta go to the bathroom. If you were making a day of it to go to park by the water, you're not leaving for that. Your kids are gonna go behind the building, they're gonna urinate.
But if they're a little one, you have to change diaper too.
Right.
You have to do stay on the bench. Sorry.
So there goes your waste and all kinds of other things that you don't want, in the middle of your park, because you lock.
I think I'm changing things. Just to make sure.
Yeah, and human waste is gonna draw animals
Yeah.
and that'll be right by the trustees' beautiful little building over there, so I think the impact is significant. Okay, couple things that were not completed from last time. I have not drafted a process and timeline for the neighborhood playgrounds that, as I had hoped, and Mr. Matt Ide, who is not here today, don't have an update from him about speaking with Mr. Zelt about updating the city website with information. Subcommittee. I did, Brian, I think you connected me to the tourism folks. Was that you? Yes.
John Reeves.
Yes,
Right?
and so I will be meeting with them this week to link us into us in once we-
Oh, what there was, at the, for those of you who weren't there or didn't know, at the last city council meeting, the outreach folks team made a presentation to the city and to the residents, and one of the things they mentioned was they have a city website, a new city website that they will be promoting and advertising things on. And then the question or the ask was, people are going there from a visiting standpoint, can we add in something about, things you can do here and IE Playground?
And I think the website is heavily now focused on museums.
Mhm.
And maybe a little bit on restaurants, but that's pretty much it. I think that's the extent of it. So the more we can build it out, the better visitor experience we create as a city. So I think we should add a little bit about
We
other
definitely
programs there as well. Yeah, for sure.
Because
And they have even events page there too. So if we do have something structured going on to continue having the events page.
one of the things that I thought of is Amtrak used to have a periodical where they would have a feature from each state that we travel to, and we could put together, or Amtrak basically put together, having people take the train to Wilmington, take the Jam Trail to Newcastle, visit the playground, visit the park, and visit the city and the restaurants. It would be a perfect day, and I think it's something that.
Another suggestion, Suzanne, with to talk to Mr. Reeves is about they're also looking at conducting a study or figuring out ways to analyze foot traffic in the city. And I know that that's been one of the things that you've been looking for. That can be perhaps leveraged to talk about that as well when you guys meet. So that he knows that there's additional need for that too, because the need is basically as you're applying for these grants. The need is to showcase, like how many people come to town and utilize these things. So just so he knows that he's not just getting data on who's visiting museums, for example, or restaurants, but also that he can start tracking who's utilizing park and playgrounds. So like we're getting, instead of us having to go as a group and pay for a study just for playgrounds only, we can put that as a comprehensive studies that is being conducted. So it's easier and hopefully cheaper.
That's good.
And they're aware of, I think one of the things that we were talking about was cell phones and stuff like, so they're aware of different methods of, so that they're discussing what is the best, most appropriate thing to use for it. So I think just kind of adding to that list, similar to the website, adding to the list of things to track would help us long term, I think.
All right, any additional comments? Is anyone gonna do? Everybody?
I need some notes in here. Give me a second for that. My other question was about like the fencing around the playground that was suggested by Ms. Struckler. But it seems like that's for the safety of kids. And
We don't have budget for that right now, but depending how much funding we're able to bring in, that might be something you can have a head on the quote.
so what, then another thing I had was, my last question is about adding a wheelchair swing if possible. I know that we have a ADA compliant swing, so is that enough? Or is she saying like there's a wheelchair you can roll into and then swing? That would be, yeah, that's, that way you can be independent in a sense without needing, yeah.
There are a couple of pieces that we.
Not sure how much that is, but yeah, like that. That would be interesting.
There's a turning, piece of equipment is level to the surfacing where you throw a wheelchair up and then they can do turning right now. Equipment is not gonna do it, but something that does flush to the ground would be, and a wheel. Would definitely.
I have one question, and this is just for clarity. So I know there's references to signage peeling. I thought before we'd heard references to like the pieces themselves peeling. And I wanted to get clarity that those two are separate and independent.
There are two different kinds of, there, adhesive signage that goes on the metal that can be peeled off. There is then metal signage, which is, what is, for lack of a better word, to zip line. And that does not come off. So I'm assuming, Kathy, you're referring to the adhesive.
The adhesive, yes.
There's like the coats, there's like, so like, for example, is it like the metal coloring on the swing that's like fading and being discolored?
No,
It's those both signs are compound put, I think, right?
well, they gave them to me and I actually applied them. And so I applied them to different, each of the different pieces of equipment. Put an adhesive, it's probably about 6 inches by 4 inches, wraps around the metal. And either due to the weather or due to the kids, I don't know which one.
Or both.
Or both, right. Those are not the most durable, and I think next phase. All right, motion to adjourn. Oh,
I just said something that we were just talking about. My mind is now. Oh, yeah, I know that we talked about it somewhat, but. Recently I was in Newark, so here's the context. And we're playing at a playground there, and it's a conference playground, I believe. Has the same web and all that stuff. There was a big vandalism in a sense of like graffitis down there. It's really not pleasant. My question is, did we discuss any anti-graffiti materials and stuff? Is that still possible on the table? It says it would be awful if it's just permanent and you can't do nothing about it, like.
Right.
It really does smother the whole, investment in a sense, So can we do something about that? Or just at least explore it? I don't know if it's coding that will have to be applied, that's anti-graffiti or something, or.
So I did ask them about that. Let me pull the information that they gave me, because there are ways to either code, so
Easier.
more easily, but I don't have this.
And when you're asking them, can you ask them how unhealthy that is? Like if a kid chips, like is it more unhealthy than regular paint? Like because I'm guessing there's more chemicals involved to make it being cleaned easier. So I just want to make sure that we're
Sometimes
comparison wise.
the technologies are really pretty advanced at that kind of thing, but I can find.
If you don't mind, just ask them, because they would know right off the bat, just to say. I just want to thank you guys for pursuing the wheelchair and the fence, like, kids that do come that have, not same abilities as other kids, it's important for us to keep looking and looking for funding for that.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Sure.
All in favor? Second? All. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much for